9 acres of remaining lands from the former Sherrill farm. It was annexed in the early 2000s. Since the Route 13 master plan was completed, this property has been rezoned for planning and zoning standards. This project is zoned CCM corridor commercial. So corridor commercial comes with approximately 40 pages worth of design standards, the purpose of which is to mixed use, high density zoning district, the purpose of which is to bring development closer to US 13 to create a more of a Main Street like feel along the US 13 corridor. So currently the property is tilled. In 2024, in April 2024, when the Planning Commission, it went to the Town Council for concept in 2024 of last year. And what the developer brought before you was defining feature. You had a large central boulevard that bisected the site, which would eventually connect in with the to be determined subdivision to the rear and the rest of the Sherrill property, which is owned by the Capanos. It included 8 3-story apartment buildings along this central corridor, and then along 13, you had 2 3-story mixed-use buildings with approximately 11,300 commercial and a drive-through restaurant also along the Route 13 corridor. We had a long discussion. The applicant has gone through a series. They've completed what's called a traffic impact study with DelDOT. They've been going through very heavily with the Kent Conservation District to finalize stormwater management for the site and how they get stormwater off of the site. And they've gone to PLUS, which is the review with the state agencies. So coming before you today, they went to Planning Commission last month. This is the site which you currently is under consideration before you. It's a very similar design that was brought to you last year. You still have that central boulevard with a median down the center of said boulevard, one-way traffic on either side, and on-street parking alongside. What I want to emphasize is you'll notice a series of lots to the rear of this on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see those little white lines. Those are paper lots. In 2006, if I recall, the Capanos subdivided a large subdivision along the Sherrill farm, and however, this project sunsetted or expired. So they have to go back through our projects, go back through our zoning ordinance, and come back before you under the Planned Village Community Guidelines. So the ultimate goal of this central boulevard is to actually bisect the Sherrill farm to connect with Duck Creek Road to provide access both for the residents in both projects, but also for emergency vehicles to be able to access from both sides and then directly onto 13, right in, right out off of 13th. Rather than having 8 3-story buildings, the biggest change is the applicant is proposing 4 4-story buildings. And each of these 4-story buildings are going to be 32 dwelling units in size. And then it is permitted by the terms of the underlying zoning ordinance. The 2 mixed-use buildings along US 13 are slightly larger. They have a slightly larger footprint, and they were about 1,000 square feet larger. The 2,400 square foot drive-through restaurant was retained as part of the plan. And open space and recreational amenities were reoriented on this site compared to what was brought before you. The biggest change, they kept the 3,000 square foot clubhouse and fitness center on the northern part of the property, along with the adjacent pool for the community. The thing that they did add at the request of staff, you'll notice at the southern part of the property, there's a green, looks like field on the property. That is a pet park that will serve the needs for this community. Adjacent to the pool, the applicant is proposing a playground and a community garden. Okay. So what is this project going to look like? This project is actually modeled after an existing project. And again, at the request of staff and the design guidelines underlying in the zoning ordinance. So if you go up US 13 north of Wilmington in Claymont, there is a community right along the US 13 corridor called Darley Green. And essentially they took a former industrial site and you have 3-story mixed, well, actually 2.5-story mixed-use buildings directly fronting US 13. And then you can kind of see it down the Central Boulevard. They have 4-story apartment buildings. And then behind those 4-story apartment buildings, as you see on the site plan to the left, you have townhouses, duplexes, which is you're going to eventually see in the back of the property that will eventually be developed, that 90-acre Sherrill farm that will be developed at a future date. So I'm not going to go through all of these. We can discuss this as part of the, when it comes up under new business. This was reviewed and approved under the recommendations from the Planning Commission. There are a series of both code requirements that our code requires, and then there are discretionary subjective things that both the Planning Commission and myself viewed should be required for this project based upon the nature and design of the layout of the site and what's being proposed. So I will discuss this in greater detail. I did print out paper copies for you, and we'll be able to reference this when it comes back up under new business. A couple of there really are very few things. A couple of the buildings have to be reoriented slightly to comply with our maximum setback requirements. They have to be slightly closer to US 13. The mixed use buildings have to be about a foot closer. The drive-through building has to be about 10 feet closer. They need to put a crosswalk in. They need to put in a big thing that came up with the fire company that I do want to emphasize, and it's shown up here as number 7, is when this project is built, there will only be one entrance to the site, a right in and a right out on the Central Boulevard. Eventually, it will be able to connect to the rear, but when it's built, only one entrance. So working with the adjacent property owner, which is owned by Filec, and many of you know Filec on US 13, we've asked the developer and staff has already spoken to the owner of Filec about providing some removable bollards for emergency access to be able to go through their property in the event of an emergency at the entrance of the subdivision where they need to be able to access the property. So I thought that was something that's probably one of the bigger things that we wanted to emphasize. The rest of the things are relatively self-explanatory, and I would be happy. The fire department recommended some locations for some fire hydrants that we put in there. And there are some design requirements that they're going to have for the apartment buildings. But with that, I would be happy to turn it over to the developer. That is the elevator speech for this project, and we can discuss in greater detail under new business if you'd like.
I'll just make my way over to this side just so I'm not standing in everybody's way. My name is Alan Hill. I'm with AH Davenport. We're the engineers for the project. I'm here with Mr. Mike Scally, who's representative of the developer, and one of my team, Owen Klinger. I just want to thank Mr. Rothwell for doing a fantastic presentation of the project. I don't really have much to add at this time. I just feel like I just want to explain why some of the changes were made from the concept plan to the current plan that you see tonight before you. Part of the reason was we had a mix of units that weren't desirable. As the market changes over the time as we do this. This is a much more conventional layout of building. And one of the things that this allowed us to do with that was it allowed us to increase the green space on the project by using a more conventional design. So that allowed us to add the much bigger dog park. Meant we could add the play center. And one of the I'm going to call it byproducts of this is actually we ended up getting better access for emergency vehicles around the buildings. And then in making the buildings, the mixed-use buildings along Route 13, we made those a little bit deeper. And that was a request of the architect that we're working with on those because he couldn't do an efficient building. And part of it is you do an inefficient building, it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for the developer. It doesn't work for the tenants. So we add a little bit of depth there. And again, that allowed us to align that emergency access way to the Filec property in a much better manner. It was slightly offset from their driveway, the way we had it originally. So in making the buildings a little bit deeper, we added to that emergency access again. So we're actually happier with what we have now. And these projects, every time you look at it, you could make it better. You could keep going and never reach the end. So we're very happy with what we have. We've worked very closely with Mr. Rothwell and his team, with Vedantis, the engineers. and come up with what we believe is a very, very good project to be in the town of Smyrna. So with that, I think I'd like to leave it. And when you have questions later in the meeting, I would be very happy to answer what you have.
Thank you.
Yep, so we can open it up to.
Does anyone have any questions? Keep in mind, this will come up under new business. Okay. This concludes this portion of the meeting, and the official meeting will start in 4 minutes.
Get that on time.
So
I think so.
Danielle?
Yes, hi.
Okay,
Can you hear me? Because I couldn't hear you all.
okay. Could you do roll call, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yep. Councilman Drew,
Here.
Mayor Gott,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Miles,
Present.
Councilman Olson,
Here.
Councilman Pope, Vice Mayor Upshur.
Present.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Addition and deletions to the public agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we move 9A up to 7B in the agenda. Any second?
I'll second.
Second.
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is moved.
And I would like to make a motion to move 9A to 7A.
7C.
I'm sorry. 7C.
Mine's.
I'm sorry, 9C to 7A.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. Consent agenda. Need a motion for the council meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2025 to be approved as they stand.
I make a motion to approve council minutes from 9/2/2025 as it stands.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Like a motion to accept the executive session minutes, meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2025.
I make a motion to accept the executive session meeting minutes from 9/2/2025 as it stands.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. 7, if I could I please ask Captain Donner to join me up? Oh, we have to do that first. I'm sorry, I got excited. Here is my little list Garrett sent me, so I would have it and be prepared. Okay. Need a motion to appoint Captain Donner to the position of Chief of Police.
I make a
motion to appoint Captain Donner to his position.
It will be to the position of Chief Police in the Smyrna Police Department, subject to the terms of employment negotiated between Captain Donner and the mayor.
There a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ha, now it's your turn. Barrett. So we're going to read this and then afterwards, we're going to do a photo op.
You have all my staff here
Oh,
for
I
you.
If you can't hear me, please let me know. You would, please repeat after me. I, Brian Donner,
I, Brian Donner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
the state of Delaware,
state of Delaware,
and the town of Smyrna,
and the town of Smyrna.
that I will faithfully discharge with fidelity
That I will faithfully discharge with fidelity
the duties of the position of Chief of Police
the duties of the position of Chief of Police
of the town of Smyrna, Delaware,
of the town of Smyrna, Delaware.
that I will ensure the department is run professionally and I will obey the rules and regulations,
That I will ensure the department is run professionally. Give me the next part.
and I will obey the rules and regulations,
I will obey the rules and regulations,
policies and procedures
policies and procedures
governing the fair and equal treatment of all members
governing the fair and equal treatment of all members
of the Smyrna Police Department.
of the Smyrna Police Department.
I swear this oath on the 15th day of September 2025.
I swear this oath on the 15th day of September 2025.
If I could get you to sign this,
Yes,
please,
ma'am.
sir. And are you going to take, where did Nick go? Lori, can we have you come up here since you signed this as well? We'll start with that and then we'll bring council up here.
I'm not sure.
Two guys that love pictures.
Yeah.
Neither one.
If I could have council join us, please. Sorry. You don't get to go in there. Sorry, guys, this will take a couple minutes, but realistically, this only happens once in a lifetime. Nope. You know what, Alyssa is for this one.
She was. I think she gave her seat up.
Hold on. Robert, would you like to join us? You didn't get here alone. Now, if I could have the police officers, this should be real easy. We do 15, and then 10, and then fill in. You can count.
Almost evenly split already. They made it easy for us.
Yeah, no.
We're circulating. We're mad. Banana shortage?
That's how he's saying.
Act like we like each other.
Squeeze it in.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you kneel down in front? You're so short.
He's coming.
Jason might be good.
Ready, 3, 2, 1. All right,
This is
Your daughter.
3, 2, 1.
Suspended in motion.
I like pictures. Just for the record.
Oh, okay. So you say.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Please meet your daughter.
Thank you for everybody coming. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Congrats.
Sir? Really appreciate you being here. I didn't expect to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Yep. I'm right on the cusp.
Where's Kurt?
Come on, dude.
Dustin. Dustin.
See you guys. Billy? How are you, sir?
Don't go anywhere.
Hey, man, what's up?
Have a seat for a minute.
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brady. I appreciate you being here. I like your bow tie. Thanks, guys.
Would you like to join me, please? If you want to take where do you want to do this? This is up to you.
Good, podium.
Hey, good evening. My name is Hugh Brumall, and I have the privilege of representing the Department of Defense this evening. I am the Delaware Chairman of the Employer Support of the National Guard and Reserve. Madam Mayor, Council, it's a privilege to be here this evening. We were established almost 50 years ago. Some of us may remember that. The nation decided to move to an all-volunteer force. At that time, it became important to make sure we kept our employers in the loop with military service. We have over 1 million people, men and women have deployed since 9/11. You know that well here in the town of Smyrna. To keep that relationship going, our job is to reach out to employers, information and awards that we'll do tonight, as well as briefing to the soldiers on their responsibility under the law. So this evening, we'd like to recognize Dustin, please. Dustin is a major in the Vermont National Guard. He's in a particular unit, the Integrated Combat Team, which is one of the Army and the National Guard's elite units. Very rare unit. And yet from here to, from Maine, Vermont to here, but it's one of the premier units in the United States of America. He took the time to recommend his bosses for the Patriot Award. One of our most important awards because it recognizes recognition by the member of the reserve to their supervisor. So, perfect, you're up. Yeah, perfect. And it's your night, right, Brian?
Yes, sir. Oh.
Okay. Your partner in crime recommended you for this award for all your support. In addition to our deployments, sometimes year long, we have many training requirements, as you know. So this is presented on behalf of the Secretary of Defense. My mess. As a patriotic employer. Thank you very much. And it's a big night for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
City manager, James, good to see you. Leadership does evolve. We're proud of your accomplishments here and look for a great future as we go. Now, one of the things that recommended, he recognized your leadership.
Thank you.
It is difficult to manage a 24/7 force if you had a significant number of first responders and members of the National Guard Reserve. We appreciate that. As a former commander of the Air National Guard, we recognize your support. He can't do what he needs to do without you. So on behalf of the Secretary of Defense, Patriot Award, Brian Gunner, our new chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the
Thank
town
you
of
for coming.
Smyrna.
I appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you, Brian.
Sir.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Kirk, you can leave.
it.
Thank you, Alyssa. He doesn't.
No.
Thank you, Alyssa. I think you'd want to take pictures. Next on the agenda is Just Serve Award, and it's Elizabeth Brown, please. Give
Hi,
it wherever is best for you at this point.
okay, so we're awarding you. So I'm new at this public speaking thing in front of a bunch of people, but I'm gonna do my best. I have a couple people here with me that I just wanted to recognize and introduce to all of you that are here to support me and what I do with the city. We have awarded the city of Smyrna a Just Serve Award, which is about volunteerism and connecting organizations and volunteers together. It all started in 2012 with a little app on the phone, and it's evolved into a big platform now. I have Chris Williams right here, who is my communications director. We have Amber, who is our media person. I'm a Just Serve specialist for the Dover State area, which is all the way down into southern part of the peninsula. And then this is Byron Peacock, who is our state president of the Dover, Delaware State, which area including most of the Delmarva Peninsula. And I just want to explain a little bit of what happened. So Dr. Upshur applied for this award for the city. And the quote that was forwarded to me by her that actually got her this award is, "We believe that service is a powerful tool for connection, and through Just Serve, we look forward to strengthening bonds between our local organization, faith groups, and our residents." And we thought that that was a very powerful statement for our community. We are very excited to work with the city of Smyrna and maybe challenge other cities on the peninsula to recognize volunteers. We have a hero program platform part of this Just Serve, which is new and evolving. It's called the Just Serve Hero Award, and Dr. Upshur and I spoke about having an annual Volunteer of the Year platform and awarding this to a Volunteer of the Year each year. And it can be awarded at any time that the council decides. So I'll turn this time over to President Peacock.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here tonight. We're excited to have Smyrna, Delaware recognized as a Just Serve city. As was mentioned, this is a certificate and award that we're going to present to the city, to the mayor and the city council. But really it focuses on community efforts to bring people together to serve. And we know that as communities rally individuals together to serve, it really brings a sense of community as well as a sense of unity. As citizens become engaged in their community, studies have shown that those individuals not only improve the community, but it also improves their lives as well. They enjoy greater quality of life as well as greater personal fulfillment. We are a faith-based group. One of the attributes exemplified in the life of Jesus Christ was that of service. And as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we seek to follow his example. And by striving to serve others, we can join together with those in our community to foster and make a meaningful difference in the community and all those that are around us, as well as create a community that thrives together. And so on behalf of the Just Serve organization, we'd like to invite the mayor and vice mayor Upshur to maybe join us, and we'll present them with a certificate.
I should have said that we're going to do a few pictures as well. Brother Davenport, I forgot to mention Brother Davenport, he's above me as well. He's the Just Serve area Just Serve specialist.
Mr. James, would you please join us?
He loves it.
Everyone can join if they want. That would be awesome.
What's an old
Because we are
council tax?
definitely
We're gonna do this
awarding
alone.
this everyone. Where's it? Okay, so we have a banner and we have some swag over here that's Just Serve that can be ordered and added to the community anytime, and give out flyers and handouts to promote the Just Serve platform.
We'll do one this way, like this, and then we'll do one with a banner.
Okay.
The one with the banner, could we have all of town staff come up?
Hope you got a wide angle one.
No, I thought I could stay out of just one of them.
Nope. Not today. Isn't that great?
I'm Barrett. I'll stay here with Mr. Good.
Can you see it, Chris?
Am I blocking it?
No, you gotta be about a foot taller, brother.
Oh, this one here. Oh, I've been right there.
That looks great.
Wow.
Details. Good for her, right?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for putting up with me.
I can't wait to get started. It's gonna be exciting. I talked to them in the email and we'll start.
Normally about an hour.
You know what, we should let Derek get in it.
I stood up.
Did you? No, you didn't. From where you are, right?
I came down last week too, but.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And in complete fairness, if you guys choose not to stay for the rest of the meeting, you don't have to. That's why we moved you to the beginning of it. That is your choice. Next, my comments. First of all, congratulations, Chief.
Thank you, ma'am.
In a matter of 5 minutes, you went from Donner to Chief. How about that? Congratulations, you earned this. I'd like to thank everybody that went out to the 9/11 ceremony. That was very well attended. Amanda and I, is she in here? Yes, had the opportunity to go to Rehoboth this week and attend the Main Street Board meeting that was down there. We learned a lot. Met some really great people that we're probably going to meet up with and have lunch very soon. The day before, Town Manager James and I took the KEP bus tour around the county and went to our very own Duck Creek Industrial Park, amongst many other opportunities. I think that's it because everybody else is going to have stuff and I've already talked too long. Okay, Dr. Upshur.
Okay. As I said at the last council meeting, remember that September is Suicide Awareness Month. So check on your strong friends, check on your neighbors, check on your loved ones. The number is 988, is the crisis national number. So please, just let's all look out for each other. September 15th through October 15th is also National Hispanic American Heritage Month. So it's celebrated annually in the U.S. It honors the histories, cultures, and contributions of Americans whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central America. Why it's celebrated? The celebration begins on today, a date that marks the independence anniversaries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Mexico and Chile follow with their independence on September 16th and 18th, respectively. The month was first recognized as a week in 1968 by President Lyndon B. Johnson and expanded to a full month in 1988 under President Ronald Reagan. Also, tomorrow, September the 16th, is National Voter Registration Day. What it's about? National Voter Registration is a nonpartisan initiative that brings together thousands of organizations. We're talking about volunteers, right? Volunteers and community leaders to help eligible voters get ready to vote. It's especially important in years like 2025, which features over 100,000 state and local elections across the country. How to participate? Check your registration status, especially if you've moved, changed your name, or haven't voted recently. Register to vote online or at local events. Share resources with friends, family, and your community to spread awareness. Use tools like vote411.org to find local events and learn about candidates and polling places. And also, the Mayor's Prayer Brunch is on Wednesday, October the 1st at 7:30 a.m. in the morning at the Clayton Firehouse. And we will have a keynote speaker. Can I have Mr. Horsey stand up for a moment and share with us who the keynote speaker will be at the prayer breakfast, please?
Absolutely. The keynote speaker this year will be Willie Alfonso. And Willie served for 28 years as the chaplain of the New York Yankees, the New York Giants, and the Nets. At the age of 11, he was homeless and out on the streets of Brooklyn. At the age of 16, he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And at the age of 26, he became a pastor as he found his Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. So he has a remarkable story about redemption. So Willie will be joining us as our keynote speaker this year.
Thank you, Mr. Horsey.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. And that is all I have.
Okay. Council Treasurer, Councilman Johnson.
Just like to thank town crew for all their work, especially getting Central up and running after the squirrel blew the knife this morning. Captain Donner, congratulations now, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have.
Councilman Olson.
I will continue to vote against all new developments due to the budget problems of Smyrna.
Councilman Miles.
I just want to thank staff for all the work you guys are doing, and then obviously our new chief. I also would like to remind Councilman Olson that we obviously have laws in place that predict our planning and zoning, and we follow those procedures. We can't dictate how development works, and yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Miles.
Councilman Drew.
I want to thank everyone within the community, making a change and a difference. Now more than ever, we need each other. Thank you.
Chief of Police.
Do have things prepared for you. It is budget season. It is also grant season. So I had my first round of statewide grant meetings last week. I know I talked to some of you guys, both as a group and individually, about some grants I was trying to secure. I got us $57,000 in combat grants that will completely upgrade our duty pistol systems so that we can continue qualifying at the range at no cost to the town. That will also allow us to deploy 6 more Verkada surveillance cameras out into hotspot problem areas of the community. And it will also replenish our stop stick supply that is just run amok. And it's something that every year is one of those budget things that gets slashed. So I've got grant funding for it. Final interview with an officer candidate tomorrow. That is one of our certifieds. Hopeful on that. Dispatch is in progress. We have some good looking candidates. I'm hopeful we can close and finish that one quickly. We had a surprise resignation to join a different industry. It wasn't anything we did. It's the shift work didn't work out for them. And this new generation, they try jobs and they bounce around. So it is what it is. Tomorrow I have my next round of statewide grant meetings, which I will hope to come back to you at the next meeting and tell you I secured more free money for us.
Thank you.
That is where we're at.
Thank you. What he's really saying is don't call me all day.
I'm happy to share. You know what? I'll share you the Zoom link. You can watch the grant meeting if you'd like. They're not very fun.
I appreciate what you're doing. Is that it?
That's all I have for you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Town manager.
So each of you should have either a hard copy and or a digital copy of my manager's report. I'm not going to go into a million details just because we have some guests that are here that are going to be coming up that are going to give a detailed synopsis of 23. Remember I said 23 audit report. So we'll push my side off to get through this to get to that.
Okay. Barrett? Barrett's our town attorney, just in case.
So I typically don't have anything to say, right? But I will say that I happen to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so just, I had no idea that this award was coming up, but I'm pleased to see it. And I hope that the town can be a good active participant and just serve. And we can continue to encourage service throughout the town. So thank you.
Absolutely. I will tell you that our list of invitees that will be going out for our Parks and Rec meeting is now at 97 additional groups and organizations throughout town that could participate if they chose to.
Fantastic.
So it's pretty exciting, actually.
Yes, it is.
Okay. That closes that. Old business, including discussion and possible action taken on the following items. Third reading of ordinance 012-25 and ordinance to amend chapter 46 Parks and Recreation to update the closing time for certain town of Smyrna municipal parks. Danielle have that? Danielle, do you have that? Or do we just do we have to read the whole thing, or can we just vote on it, Barrett?
You can just vote on it at this point. This is the third reading. We've already gone
Okay.
through it twice.
Is there a motion to accept the third reading of the time change for the Smyrna Municipal Parks?
I make a motion to accept the third reading of ordinance 012-25, an ordinance to amend chapter 46 Parks and Recreation to update closing time for certain town or Smyrna municipal parks.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. New business. Mr. Pearson, would you please join the podium and make the presentation for the Parks and Rec mission, vision, and goals?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The mayor said, I'm Mike Pearson, I'm chair of your Park and Recreation Committee. I'm here tonight representing that committee. We give you our mission, vision, and goals. These have been developed by the full committee. I want to thank them for their hard work. And hopefully you have received an email copy that I sent to you. Excuse me. Where's that list? Okay, the mission of the Parks and Recreation Committee is to enrich the quality of life for all residents by providing diverse, inclusive, and accessible recreational opportunities in well-maintained parks that preserve the community's natural and cultural heritage. Our vision: create and sustain a vibrant park system that reflects the aspirations of a diverse community through thoughtful planning, inclusive programming, and ongoing stewardship. Now, the goals that we have under goals and activities. Number one, to expand and improve recreational spaces. By June 2026, we meet with the town council to present at least 2 actual recommendations for expanding or enhancing recreational spaces based on collaboration with Public Works, community feedback, and site assessment. Number 2, strengthen community partnerships. By June 2026, engage with at least 6 community organizations through monthly committee meetings and document at least 3 collaborative opportunities to support park programs or events. Goal 3, increase resident engagement and communication. By December 2025, launch a communication system to publicize meeting times and invite resident input and provide a quarterly summary of community feedback to the committee. Goal 4, ensure safety and accessibility of parks and events. By December 2025, complete on-site visits of all town parks, produce a written report on maintenance and accessibility conditions, and present at least 4 prioritized recommendations for improvement. And number 5, foster inclusive community engagement across generations. By June 2026, develop draft membership structures, identify next steps for a Parks and Recreation Youth Advisory Council and a Senior Advisory Council. Let me just touch on that for a moment. A youth advisory subcommittee or council be a group of young residents composed of 15 to 25-year-olds that can bring valuable insight on issues concerning them, such as recreational, educational, and safety opportunities that would be available to all youth in our community. what this would do, it would empower young people to have a voice in their community with members gaining confidence, leadership, and networking skills, along with the educational component on how government works. A senior advisory commission or subcommittee would be a body of residents who are over the age of 50, who can provide valuable insight on issues affecting them such as recreational, safety, housing, and health concerns. This would empower our seasoned adult community to also have a voice and a feeling of inclusion. These subcommittees or commissions would be inclusive and represent a diverse population of Smyrna, reaching out to all groups and residents. Now, these subcommittees and everything are just proposals, right? And we're going to have discussions ongoing within the committee to basically work this out. Hopefully, a final proposal can be submitted to this council within the next 6 months. And I want to remind everyone, the Parks and Recreation Committee meets, our next meeting will be September 25th. I'll be here in this building downstairs, and all are welcome. Council, anyone have any questions?
I think one of the additional things to add to that is Lisa Torbert is helping with the Youth Commission
Yes.
and Roberta Allen is helping with the Senior Commission.
Yes, they are, yes. And they're two members of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
The time on the 25th is 7?
I'm sorry?
Parks and Rec meeting, 7:00.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
It's 6 o'clock here downstairs at downstairs conference room on September 25th. That's our next meeting. And all other meetings are going to be announced. Hopefully I'll be able to get out something on Smyrna tidbits and everything to get these meetings more announced. We're also going to try to develop a way to get the meetings announced, not using, or for those people who are not into social media, those who can't work computers, we're going to try to figure out some way in which they can also reach them to let them know when the committee meetings are.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Do we need to vote to accept that or no? Okay. The final thing in this, under new business is application from Jeremy, I don't want to butcher it.
Happening.
In development for a preliminary category A site plan at 553 and 5573 DuPont Parkway.
And Mayor actually just brought up as a reminder, the developer, Mike Scally, has actually has not actually created a name for the project yet. That's one of the to-do things in terms of what this project's actually going to be called. So Appenines, the name of the development company, the LLC that's developing the property. So just to go, I think the only thing I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail about, so that you're aware, these are the required, both on the right are the site-wide code requirements, and then on the left are individual geographic requirements or recommended requirements opted to recommend to you. So I'll go over some of them just so that they're all numbered, of course. So number one, those mixed use buildings, they have to be set forward about a foot. They're currently 16 feet from the front setback. They have to be 15 feet. Number two is the drive-through restaurant. It's currently around 36 feet from the front setback line. It has to be moved up to 25 feet to be closer to the roadway. Buildings are required as part of the zoning district to directly front all public streets, whether that's US 13 or internal streets. And if not, there is a provision to allow a public space or open space amenity maybe between the proposed building and the street. So number three shown here, because the drive-through building is the configuration of a drive-through restaurant, you're not able to have that building directly up against the entry boulevard. The applicant is required to have some sort of open space feature, and that might be some sort of like brick square that has a nice entrance to the project with some pedestrian seating and some signage. Well, that'll be, and then we've discussed that with the applicant. Number four, they obtained a waiver from the Planning Commission. They are required for the commercial space to have an off-street loading space, but because the configuration with the mixed-use buildings, the parking to the rear, it's very difficult to be able to provide an off-street loading space. So they did obtain a waiver from the Planning Commission for that. The number 6. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I might do number 5 first. Okay, very, very important one. So in the code, all parking spaces are required to be to the side or to the rear of the building, preferred to the rear of the building, but it can be to the side of the building. And if a parking lot or a drive aisle, in the case of a drive-through, if they front on a public street, which this Central Boulevard will be a public street, you have to provide what's called a street wall. And essentially what that is, there's 3 basic options. It could be a low-lying vegetative hedge. It could be a low masonry wall, or a combination of the two, like a masonry pier with some iron fencing and some shrubbery. The purpose is to just screen the vehicles from the street. Okay. Number 6, DelDOT and DART, and specifically, will be putting a bus stop, or I should say, they will be having a bus stop with a bus pad, okay, on directly in front of the mixed-use buildings. They did not require a covered bus shelter and seating. The Planning Commission was very adamant that that be provided, and staff is fully in agreement with that. The number 7, this was what I discussed earlier about having some removable bollards at the property boundary with FILEC to allow emergency vehicles, whether that's fire trucks or an ambulance or a police vehicle, to be able to access the rear and side of the property in the event that there is an emergency and the entrance of the property is blocked. Number 8, in this Central Boulevard, working with the fire company did recommend having rolled curbs or a version of rolled curbs that would enable them, if there is an emergency in one of the one-way sides of the entry boulevard, that they would be able to drive over the median to be able to get to the other side.
Are they lower?
What's that?
What makes?
So rolled curbs, so a standard curb is what's called an upright curb. That's they're typically, was it 8 inches in height, right? 8 inches. It's just straight up concrete curb, goes straight up just like this. A rolled curb typically is just like this. That enables you to roll up with your vehicle curb without busting your tires out or damaging.
Messing up the rims.
Okay. Number 9, the applicant, just I think by a mistake, did not put crosswalks and curb ramps in the immediate entrance of the 4 apartment buildings. That's shown as number 9. Pretty easy thing to add. Number 10, by the terms of the zoning ordinance and the corridor commercial district, playgrounds are required to be a minimum of 3,000 square feet in size. They provided one that was 2,700 square feet in size, so they just have to slightly enlarge the playground to comply with the terms of the zoning ordinance. And one of the things, and the applicant may have a discussion about this, but we had this discussion at Planning Commission. The applicant's proposing a community garden. On one level, staff doesn't have a problem with that. That's in terms of what's provided, it's a negotiation between staff, the Planning Commission, and you all in terms of what amenities are provided. Having a community garden is certainly fine. One of the things that we discussed was having picnic tables to be able to be utilized by the community, that would be something that we know would likely be able to be utilized. So that's something that was discussed and recommended that be provided. And then the site-wide code requirements, there are design standards for the apartment buildings themselves. So the purpose of new apartment buildings in the zoning district to be able to break up the physical size. This is a 32 unit apartment building, 4 stories. It's a very big, very large building. And to make the building look smaller visually, there are design requirements in the zoning district, which essentially require the large apartment building to be divided up so that it looks like a series of townhomes rather than one large building. And that's just a visual cue that kind of helps with the residents to make the building not look as massive as they do, because apartment buildings can be very large. They have to provide some bike racks in the parking lots, a very easy thing to be able to do. They're required to be able to provide street lamps, both along US 13 and on this entry boulevard every 60 feet. And they are required to plant street trees every 30 feet within this. And they were slightly off on their distances. I already showed you the map of the proposed fire hydrants. If practicable, this is something we're working at with DelDOT. DelDOT does not, our code specifies along US 13 and on public streets, like for an internal boulevard, you have a curb, the edge of the travel lane, you have a curb, you have a 5-foot grass strip, and in that 5-foot grass strip, you have street trees and street lamps, and then you have either the 6-foot or the 10-foot sidewalk. Okay, the idea is to be able to provide a degree of separation and safety between the motorists and the pedestrians. DelDOT doesn't like, as traffic engineers, they don't like street trees and things, you know, in between the travel lane and the sidewalk, because that's a hindrance for vehicles. You know, they don't necessarily care about the pedestrians on the sidewalk. So that's, you know, they're traffic engineers. Okay, so, but we're working through with DelDOT, and that's a negotiation that we work with them for that. And then we do have tree planting requirements for the entire density of the lot. For the size of this parcel, they're required to provide 1 tree per 3,000 square feet of lot area. So that comes out to about 132 trees. So, and given that there are some existing trees, and there's a lot of planted trees that have to be both for street trees and in the parking lots, they should not have a problem at all at meeting those requirements. So those are the requirements. Both code requirements and the subjective additions recommended that both the planning commission and staff worked out with the applicant. There's one additional one that the planning commission did put in there. It is in the body of my 17-page staff report. It's in the end. The planning commission has been very adamant about requiring masonry dumpster enclosures as a way to beautify things. So that is going to be also in there, and it is in the body of the written report that will go out as part of that, but I forgot to update the this particular side. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes, ma'am.
I've got 6.
Good. Good. It's a big project.
When we looked at this before, and it looks like many of the things that we had discussed previously have been addressed. The traffic study that you mentioned earlier, one of the concerns was it coming out on Route 13 and being the only access. Has DelDOT approved that traffic study?
I will defer to the applicant. They've gone through the traffic study process and they've.
Yes, let me come out of my little hole. I can't do this all confined in them. So yes, the traffic study, we've been through the traffic study. That's all been approved with the entrance as you see it on the plan here. They didn't actually require the second access through the Firelake property, but we are doing that anyway.
And the second access through the Firelake property, is that paved in some way? I just know that for fire trucks, we don't do speed bumps, we don't do things because we're conscious of what we
No.
expect them to do.
No, so we don't do speed bumps or anything like that because we know that there's been issues in some of jurisdictions with accidents through with fire trucks and speed bumps. So there is no speed bump there. Currently, we don't show it as paved. We generally do a forestry lane type access, which is a stone base with grass on top. And it will have bollards as well.
Okay.
And it will be at grade as well. So there's not going to be a curb that the fire truck or emergency vehicles will have to traverse to get between the Firelake property and this project.
Yeah, so just filling on that. So we have on the internal curb against the parking areas, we have a 6-inch upright curb, which is what Jeremy described earlier as being a straight vertical curb. Where we have the access, we'll actually put that down as if it's a depressed curb like you see on people's driveways. So that it's an apparent location.
The street lamps that you referred to on Route 13, who will maintain them? Will they turn into a Smyrna problem?
So they will be owned by the town. They will be, so this right of way, this Central Boulevard will eventually be turned over to the town. It's envisioned that this will be a town street. Once the project is complete, it will be dedicated to the town. And the improvements within those, the street lamps will become part of the property of the town.
Will they be consistent with what we currently have?
Yes, so
One of
What's
the ver-
required in the code is actually exactly what's required on Main Street.
Okay. And out of curiosity, the size of the playground area, because it's recreational area, does the size of the dog park play into that at all? Because that's another form of recreational area. Do they compensate each other in any way?
In terms of what?
Would that,
In terms of the size?
yes,
So when Barrett and I drafted the standards for this ordinance, we were fairly prescriptive in terms of sizes for each of these, so that you don't get developers who cheat or try to cut corners. But we are, on one respect, we're kind of stabbing in the dark a little bit. We're taking best available research to be able to come up with an educated guess in terms of this is about the minimum size of what should be required. So there are standards for the playground in terms of the number of playground equipment that is required, and I believe it's 4. I have to go, I don't have the full section of the code in front of me, but I believe it's 4 pieces of equipment and 3,000 square feet of area is required. If memory serves me correctly. For a dog park, the applicant, I do want to point out, the applicant's actually providing, what we require is a formula-based. So rather than, in the old days, when we used to do subdivisions like with Hickory Hollow, we used to say, based upon the number of lots, you have to provide a certain percentage of open space area. What you ended up having was a lot of vacant and unusable space. You know, the unusable space in the subdivision was open space. So we went away from that and we have a formula-based approach based upon the number of dwelling units. You were required to provide a number of open space amenities, or what's called common amenity areas. And they have a whole menu approach, you know, large and small, that they can provide. So based upon the number of required, the applicant's actually providing one additional recreational amenity than they are required by the code. We're very grateful for that. By the terms of the code, a dog park is supposed to be 10,000 square feet in size, which is approximately a quarter of an acre. Based upon the size of the constraints, the size of the available area next to the parking area, the applicant was able to provide around 7,000. They might be able to provide a little bit more.
We're up in that.
Yeah, you're gonna up that. But you know, what's required by the code is 10,000 square feet, but because they're providing one additional amenity, they're not required to meet.
okay.
You know, so they're doing us a favor, and this is at the request of staff and the request of council.
Right.
I think you all get a lot of complaints. We want a pet park. You know, that's a very common concern that a lot of residents want. They want to be able to walk their dog. So.
And my final question,
Sure.
has the fire department blessed it? And I only say that because if you're talking about 2.6 residents per property, per apartment, however the calculation goes, it comes out to a little over 3,000 people. That's a lot of people in that area.
So 152 152 dwelling units. And if you multiply that by about 2.5, that comes out to it's a little under 500 people. It's a lot of people.
Okay.
It's a lot of people. You know, there are a lot of towns out of Delaware.
And
You know, there's a
the
lot of
front
towns.
places are actually businesses underneath, right?
That is correct. So there will be approximately just under 13,000 square feet. And it could be each of these mixed use buildings, the first floor is going to be commercial space. It could be 1 tenant, it could be 4 tenants or 6 tenants.
Okay.
You know, it could be, you know, a series of 4 or 5, or it could be a
For
doctor's
some reason, I
office.
thought it was 4 per building and I was.
No, it's,
calculating.
they have the ability to provide based upon what the market will yield.
Okay.
Because the developer doesn't know. It will likely be more independent type businesses, you know, things like a cell phone store, things like an insurance office, perhaps a doctor's office. You could get an independent, like a Celtic pub, you know, go in there. Those are the sort of, you're likely not going to get a CVS that goes in there because they don't go in these sort of spaces. And the developer wants to add into that. The developer is a professional in terms of he deals with projects like these and others.
I appreciate addressing all of the things that we had initially pointed out, and it looks like this does.
And to go back to your thing with the fire company, we do what's called a technical advisory committee meeting. Prior to it going to the planning commission the week before, we have an internal meeting, virtually, of course, with all our consulting engineers, with all of our departments. Chief Donner is on there as well, and the fire company, and Bradley from Station 64 participates, and they provide input, and their recommendations make it into these recommendations. So things like the rolled curbs or being able to provide a second access point are all at the request of the fire company or Bradley with Station 64.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I have something.
Yes.
So this reminds me of the Grove, in Newark, Delaware, right across from there. Is that what we're going, that's what you're shooting for?
That's exactly what it is. That's what the code is looking for. And I'll just say this, that the town of Smyrna has developed a code for that. The Grove had to go through a whole different process to get to that point in the city of Newark because they don't have that set up in their code as a use. So you're ahead of them. I'm in trouble now because I go in front of that board as well.
So I don't really have a question. I just have more of a comment. With the drive-through restaurant, with this being also an apartment complex and just having that one entry, let's say it's a popular drive-through restaurant like Chick-fil-A. We know those lines can get pretty long. Is this going to affect the residents there of even trying to get in? Because I don't think they're going to make that line go through the parking lot. It could ultimately lead back into 13, turning into this development.
So the way that the applicant has proposed the location of the pickup windows, it's actually on the northern side of the property. So the entirety of this drive-through lane as it goes in front of the building that's just people queuing. They're not actually ordering and picking up until you get to the other side of the building.
Okay.
So that was done purposefully.
Yeah, the way that the drive-through was laid out was to maximize that lane. Because even Chick-fil-A don't like those lines. They want the efficiency of it. It's hard to do a Chick-fil-A with their requirements, with the zoning requirements, because they want multiple lanes. So it would likely be something different. It could be a Chick-fil-A. The developer would love it if it was a Chick-fil-A. But I don't think that we have space within the zoning ordinances to provide what a Chick-fil-A franchise would need.
So I know it's come up to council before, but I just want to understand, obviously, since I'm new. This will use town utilities, correct?
Well, so the utilities are currently on the east side of US 13, on the northbound side of US 13. So directly across the street, you have the Smyrna Rest area, and that is currently served by town utilities, water, sewer, and electric. Okay. What the applicant is proposing is to do a jack and bore underneath US 13 to be able to connect directly into our system. And that will be done at the developer's expense.
Okay, so the growth that we're having here it's going to pay for its own growth.
It is.
Okay.
The developer will bear the burden of extending utilities.
We also will be paying connection fees.
Yes,
to
a lot of impact fees.
There's a lot of impact fees that are part of this project. As each connection is made, there's a lot of fees that are part of that connection.
Thank you. I just wanted people to understand that this is not an expense to the town.
It's not an expense to the town.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
Answer any other questions. And I mean, I would emphasize as well that this is a lot of new dwellings, 152. You're likely to be up to 500 people, depending on the number of people in each of these dwelling units. This is, approximately a quarter of a mile from the North Smyrna interchange. This is where you want new development, is where these nodes of people, they're going to be commuting. We know they're going to be commuting, likely not working in Smyrna. They could be, but many of them will likely be commuting to Wilmington or elsewhere. They will be able to easily access without clogging our ancillary roads, further into town. So.
Until they bring their kids in to drop off to school.
Yes, that's correct.
We need to do anything.
Madam Chair, Madam Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Is there any concern? I know that you're going to use public utilities. But is there any concern about the soil that's going to be Unfortunately, there's a tractor trailer salvage yard that's adjacent to Filey. And is there any concern about the soil being contaminated and going over into that property?
So I will, I'm gonna do a very quick answer and then I'm gonna turn it over to the developer. It's not just that you have a salvage yard, and that's the collector, I think, yeah. Right next door to this property, just to the north. But if you go there, in the springtime, it looks like a pond out there. And that's because there's a layer of clay, about a foot or two underneath there, and that water saturates and you can't get it in there, so it ponds. So the applicant is required to essentially take that stormwater and it goes to a discharge point further to the south. So everything is collected on site, and I'll allow the developer to explain the technicalities.
Yeah, so we're working with Kent Conservation District, who we have to comply with their regulations as part of the town of Smyrna. Even though this is actually Newcastle County side, but the agreement is for Kent Conservation District to take care of this. So we actually have to provide stormwater management for all the additional impervious coverage that we have, store it, treat it, discharge it in a regulated manner. The junkyard, the salvage yard that was mentioned, doesn't have a soil impact on these because they're quite localized. When you have that type of machinery, it does damage the ground where they are, and usually there's remediation involved, often funding to do things like that, but it's too far away from this property to have that happen. And the area that Mr. Rothwell was mentioning about that, you can see it on the air photos, there's a shadow where it does pond. That will all be taken away. That area doesn't infiltrate. You can see that, but the upland areas do. So we have infiltration on the site. We have the ability. We'll be piping some of the water off the site as well, but we won't be. And you can see on that air photo, actually, you can see that salvage yard on there to the south, but that is too far away from our property to have an impact on our ground. But we will be. We had nothing show up in any soil testing that we did as part of the stormwater management design as having any sort of contamination from the soils there. So we will be managing everything on site, but we can't do much about what's off site like that there. We just hope that one day that gets developed and cleaned and move forward.
That answer your question, Mr. Horson?
Yes, I know Dave Carter, who is the Newcastle County Councilman for the area. They've tried to get that area cleaned up for years. And it is just a real problem, soil and everything that's close to that property.
You had a couple other questions.
Are there more?
Wanted to entertain.
Go. Yes.
I'm sorry. The entrance is southbound, correct?
Yes.
One way in, one way out. If you're traveling northbound and you want to get into that community, is there a turnaround somewheres? Because I can't picture in my mind. And my other question is, if you come out and you're heading southbound and you want to head northbound, is there a turnaround to do that?
There is. So and in terms of allowing a full intersection or not, that's done at DelDOT has a lot of formula-based rules in terms of when you can have a full interchange or not a full interchange, but a full intersection in terms of being able to cross over. And unfortunately, it's too close to existing intersections.
Okay.
So you can see in this photograph right here, this overlay, you'll notice that the top of the page, you'll see the right-hand turn, that is to the on-ramp to be able to go south. Is that south?
No, so.
Oh, wait a minute.
So the intersection you see at the very top of the screen.
Which one is
where
that?
You actually see.
Oh, is that
That's into the rest
area?
into the rest area.
But that is an intersection. That is a signalized.
That has a traffic light.
So you could do a U-turn.
So you can do a
And
U-turn there.
it's already
Okay.
set up for U-turn traffic there already, and you can do a U-turn at the traffic light south.
At Paddock Road. where the
Okay.
Wawa
I
is.
couldn't
I'm sorry,
visualize
yeah.
where it
No,
is
no.
on this street, and that was my concern, if you're doing northbound and you wanna.
Yep, that's a very good question. You know, you have to work, DelDOT has to give you an access point, but they don't have to give you what you want.
Right.
Okay,
That's for sure.
yeah, that's the polite way of putting it, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay. Is that it? Oh, Pam? And then
So I have two
wrap it up.
questions for you. One is the dog park, is it gonna be fenced? Or open
It
to the
is,
public?
it is required to be fenced.
Okay, so who's gonna be in charge of the waste removal for that?
So, and I'll turn this over to the developer. Essentially, from a property management standpoint, this is gonna be two parcels. So on either side, the central boulevard is going to be a town maintained right away upon construction. There will be a parcel to the north with those apartment buildings, and there will be a parcel to the south, and it will be owned by the property management company, the developer, who will manage all of the open space amenities. You will have a property management company.
So it will not be the town's work.
It will not.
So the other one I want to address or say something about, I live near
Mhm.
KFC and Rita's. And they don't have trash cans. So people walk outside and dump their trash in the parking lot. And as the wind blows, it ends up on my street in my front yard. And I can tell you exactly the first day that Rita's opens, because the whole street has Rita's trash. They have a preventive measure in place to keep the trash from blowing into the community.
So since the property management company who owns the apartment complex, they will be responsible. So if there is a code violation, and that includes litter, that our code enforcement officers have the ability to enforce, the property management company is also responsible. So,
So other than codes, you don't have anything in place.
no, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
And at that, we're gonna move on. Okay, that takes us into present, yes, sorry.
So we should entertain a motion to approve the subject to the conditions recommended by staff.
Conditions.
Yes.
Updated, right?
And approve of planning.
Is there a motion?
I didn't hear it.
We need a motion to approve
So a motion to approve
application.
the plan subject to the conditions recommended by staff and approved by the planning commission.
I make a motion to approve the plan with the recommendation from staff. Is that efficient enough?
That's good.
Okay, great.
Any question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. 40.
Yes, it is. It is. Right there, E, 9E.
Oh, I don't have any. Okay,
So you have an old one.
okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
We should have another one there.
It's labeled as audit and financial statements.
Okay. Audit of financial statement
If you don't
for
want.
2023. Oh, Kathleen.
Kathleen Escobedo, the finance director for the town of Smyrna. Tonight we have with us Will Harris and Michael Mass with our audit team at Belfit Lyons and Schumann, that they are going to present our 2023 audit. Yes.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, council, ladies and gentlemen. George Fernandez, and I'm joined by Michael Mass, who are with Belfit Human, who are independent auditors. And I'll speak from the slides. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, I'll start with the
financial results. Now, this is, these are communications that we're required to present to you. You know, we're starting off with a very brief synopsis of your financial results. Again, this is 2023. Governmental activities, basically your activities are broken down into governmental and business type activities. The business type activities are your water and sewer and electric funds. The governmental activities are all the general funds of the town plus the grant funds. So the town's net position overall increased by $6 million, but primarily in the governmental activities due to transfers, mostly from the business type activities. $3 million plus $3 million of infrastructure that was donated subsequent to a development. And that's streets and sidewalks, such, not cash. And then, but governmental activities on their own had a net loss of $3 million last year. On the financial statements that you all have, I think received, that would be on page 20 in a lot more detail. The business type activities, the electric fund and the water and sewer fund, decreased the town's overall net position by $3.7 million due to the $6 million which had to be transferred to the governmental activities to support them. That's after a net income of about $2.3 million in those business type activities. So overall, the town's net position, governmental activities plus the business type activities increased by about $2.3 million in 2023. And that was $1.3 million in the electric fund and about $600,000 in the water and sewer. So the net position that we're discussing over time is an indicator of the town's financial health. 2023 assets and deferred outflows overall exceeded liabilities and deferred inflows by $47.6 million. Now, so that's sort of like your net position. But that consisted of 59.9 that's invested in capital assets, 2.6 million that's restricted, and leaving you with negative a deficit overall of $14.8 million. On the next page of the presentation is a summary of what I just discussed. You can see the assets, deferred outflows, liabilities, deferred inflows, and then the overall net position. So you can see your net position in the bottom right overall went from 45,300,000 last year to about 47,600,000. So it went up overall. But the town had to make transfers to the governmental activities from both of the business type activities, the enterprise funds, to support those activities. On the next slide is the statement of changes in net position, commonly called the income statement. So you can see where the change in net position for your governmental activities went up by $6 million, but that's only because that was transferred into it from the business type activities. Business type activities themselves had 2.3 million in the net income, but they transferred $6 million into the governmental activities. So that's a very high level overview of your financial results.
I'll get into the audit communications, but do you have any questions I can answer about the financial results? So
I don't know.
on the next slide, these are specifically about our role as the auditors. So we have we are engaged to audit the financial statements, to audit those results of the financial statements of the governmental activities and business type activities, plus at a lower level, at the fund level for each major fund. And also the notes to the financial statements. So the entire package. So we operate under two sets of auditing standards. The one generally accepted auditing standards, which is common to all types of audits. And then also government auditing standards, which is specific to governments, especially those that receive federal funds. Also, we performed a single audit, which is the audit of specifically of your federal funds under the requirements of the OMB compliance supplement put out by the Federal Office of Management and Budget. So the results of our audit. So in 2023, we again had to issue a qualified opinion on your financial statements. And that's because the town is still carrying a difference, unreconciled difference in cash of about $135,000. That's material to most of the funds that are presented. Now, that $135,000 is actual cash that the town received, but at the time, 2021, couldn't identify. So there was more cash than could be properly booked. And until that's identified, you'll have that qualified opinion. Now, we are working where the new finance director is working on that, and hopefully for 2024, that qualified opinion will be solved. So. Additional results. So we issued our auditor's report on the financial statements. And then in addition, two other reports. One is on internal control over financial reporting and compliance under the government auditing standards. And the third is the auditor's report on compliance with regard to your major federal programs, of which you only had one, which is the ARPA grant. So as your auditors were required to communicate to you, the town council, significant audit matters. And so we're required to report to you that it's management's responsibility to select proper accounting policies. The significant accounting policies of the town are described in detail in note 1 to the financial statements, which I think you've all gotten a copy of. During the year, there were no changes in your accounting policies, no new accounting policies for the year ended December 31st, 23. Also, there were no transactions were entered into the town for which there's a lack of authoritative guidance. All the significant transactions have been recognized in the financial statements in the right period, except for what I discussed about the qualified opinion. And that's disclosed in detail in note 21 of the statements. Okay, we're also required to disclose to you that all financial statements include some estimates, and they're an integral part of your financial statements. The most important estimates in your statements are accounts receivable, allowances for doubtful accounts. You have receivables for electric, for water, for property taxes, and management comes up with estimates of how much is uncollectible, and we audit those estimates. Another very big estimate is are the estimates involved in your pension and OPEB costs, which are estimates created by actuarial experts that you hire to prepare those. And then lastly, another large estimate is depreciation on your capital assets, which involves estimating the useful lives of the capital assets. And so other disclosures. So the notes to the financial statements are detailed and probably take about 25 pages of this report. So the most sensitive disclosures, in our opinion, are the deferred revenues in note 21. They detail the accounts and the funds identified by that unidentified cash receipts, leading to the qualified opinion. Also, disclosure of the terms long-term, the town's long-term liabilities in note 5 is also sensitive disclosure. They detail the town's net pension liability, capital asset, bonds payable, long-term liabilities. The pension liabilities are detailed in notes 11, 12, and 13. They're very important numbers to the town and involve their significant liabilities of the town for the retiree pensions. And then likewise, this disclosure on the other post-employment benefits in note 15 is similarly important. Any adjustments that we had to make to your financial statements as a result of the audit have been provided to management. In addition, we provided management with a list of adjustments that were immaterial, but we are required to report them to management anyway, even though they didn't adjust the financial statements. And then other significant matters during the audit. There were no difficulties there were difficulties encountered in performing the audit due to new accounting systems and the fact that you have two accounting systems working at the same time. There was significant turnover during the conduct of the 23 audit. There were no disagreements with management. Management cooperated with us fully in the audit. We got all of the requested representations that we needed from management. And to our knowledge, there were no consultations with other accountants about differences of opinion. So the report under the government auditing standards, in this report, we are required to assess internal controls and to report any findings. And we had 10 findings reported. 9 of the 10 are findings repeated from the previous year. That for various reasons, mostly timing, had not been addressed, and turnover. 3 of those are what we consider material weaknesses. The first one had to do with the slowness, the delay in performing bank reconciliations. That's an important part of any operation. And when those bank reconciliations are not prepared timely, that can lead to a lot of other problems. In this case, it contributed to that qualified opinion that I spoke about. The Munis implementation. Munis is the newer accounting system. As of the completion of our audit, The town's still using two accounting systems, Munis and as well as Central Square. So it makes it more difficult for management to operate, also makes it more difficult for us to audit. And then also material weakness in the financial statement close process. There were a number of audit adjustments that we had to make. And hopefully that situation will also improve with the 24 audit. And then there are 7 significant deficiencies, which are not as serious as material weaknesses, but they're still things that have to be reported and things that management needs to consider. We had issues with obtaining inventory information because one of the systems that's not in operation is the inventory system. We made a recommendation last year, and we made it again this year, that the town under code has the ability to bill for property taxes on a quarterly basis for new development, like the development that was discussed earlier. So that's an opportunity for additional revenue, but it's also a lot of work for town staff. But we made the recommendation that you take a look at that. Cost allocation accounting, there were some problems with that. I think that going forward, those problems will be addressed. Costs that are incurred in certain departments have to be spread to other areas to make for an accurate accounting. And I think that Kathleen's got a good handle on it going forward. Pension, this was reported last year as well. The pension plan, tax withholding remittances, there were problems with the remittances that were withheld from the pensioners for income taxes, and then had to be turned over to the federal government or the state government. And there were delays in turning over that cash. That's been worked on. I know that the federal issue has been addressed, and I think the state issue is close. But as of the performance of the audit, they had not been completed. The next bullet point, the electronic municipal market access, or EMMA, is filing requirements that you have to make because you have publicly issued debt. And that the town had fallen behind in making those required disclosures online, and they're now caught up, but during the time of the audit, they had not yet been caught up. And then the last bullet point, pension funding, involves the fact that you're probably very well aware that the town has fallen behind in funding its pensions, and your actuaries actually made a comment about that, and that that needs to be addressed, and we agree with that. That's something that impacts the entire town's financial health, and that's something that resources permitting, you need to address. The audit under the uniform guidance is the also called the single audit, is the audit of federal funds. You have one major program, which was the COVID coronavirus recovery funds. And during 23, you spent about $1.4 million out of that program. There were 2 findings for that program. One had to do with the town's annual project and expenditure report, which was not filed timely for the period ending March 31st, 23. However, the town's 2 subsequent March reports for 24 and 25 have been filed timely. So at the time of the audit, you weren't in compliance, but you've since caught up. And then the second finding had to do with a purchase that was made using the federal funds where that we couldn't see any evidence, or we couldn't obtain any evidence from the town that it had been properly bid for competitive bids, and that involved precast concrete restrooms that were part of the Parks project. So we recommend that the town follow those procurement steps going forward, especially when using federal funds. So prior year findings. As I mentioned, 9 out of the 10 findings we had this year were also reported similarly in calendar year 22. There was also one involving federal funds that was again a repeat finding. So I think, working together with the finance director and town manager, I think we want to address these for the 24 audit, if not 24, the 25. Are there any questions?
Yeah. How long does it take to do one of these audits?
Depends. And it took us quite a long time this year. It shouldn't take, I would say if everything ran perfectly, we should be done in about 2 months. I think it took us a lot longer than that this year. During the time of that we were working on this audit, you had, I think, 3 different town managers and 3 different finance directors that didn't help the process because of the disruption there. So hopefully this next audit, 24, will go a lot smoother. I think the ending of the 23 audit went smoother than the beginning. And I think working with the new town manager and the new finance director, I think things will go smoother this year.
And I was going to say, we identified that 23 was a little bit of a challenging year, or a lot of a challenging year. And thankfully, through our new town manager and our finance director and our assistant town manager and staff that put a lot of effort into work into making this happen. Thank all of you, because we've been able to correct a lot of things so that in the next audit, we don't. And I don't know if it'll come through in that audit, will it come through in this audit or the next audit, probably the next audit. But a lot of topics have been able to be addressed and fixed, and we are so much further ahead now than we were then. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We need to accept this. I have a motion to accept the 2023 audit results.
Make a motion that we accept the 2023 audit results.
I'll second.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much for your time. At this time, we will open the podium up for presentation and public comment. And I ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes. State your name when you take the podium, please.
Blair. Very interesting audit. One question, when will that be online?
As soon as we get it uploaded,
So within the next week or so?
within the next week,
All right, that's all.
digital.
Very good.
I just want to be
Cognizant
able
of
to
time.
sprint through it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. We have a motion to close. the
Make a
meeting?
motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting is closed. Thank you for joining us this evening.